And again, there are no words. Words exist that can, used by a poet, achieve a dim monochrome of the body's love. But beyond that, they fail clumsily. My love flowed out to her, hers back to me. Mine stroked and soothed, hers caressed. The distance and the difference between us dwindled and vanished. We could meet, mingle, and blend. Neither one of us existed anymore. For a time, there was a single being that was both. There was escape from the solitary cell. A brief symbiosis, sharing all the world. John Wyndham, The Chrysalids. Hey everybody, welcome to another legendary episode of The Dex, where we cover trivia and strategy for a different Pokemon each week. This is my best friend in the whole world, PokeKellz.
And this is my best boy twins, Alex. This week we're covering a whole legendary Pokemon that's all about the power of relationships.
That's right, man. No one can deny the bond between Pokemon and trainer. But has anyone ever really looked at it and been like, how's that work? I don't think so.
Probably not. Don't think anyone's ever thought of that.
Nope.
Nope.
Anyway, yeah, that's what this episode's about.
Yep. So grab your scuba gear and a magnifying glass because we're going deep underwater. It's Manaphy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manaphy is the seafaring Pokemon from Gen 4. It's supposedly super sensitive, and it has the power to form a bond with any Pokemon. It's born on the cold seafloor with a body that's 80% water, and it frequently returns to its birthplace to fulfill its duties as the guardian prince of the seas.
Originally, the only way to obtain Manaphy was by unlocking a secret mission via passcode using the Ranger Net feature in the Pokemon Ranger games on Nintendo DS. Beating the missions would earn you the Manaphy egg, which you could then trade to Diamond or Pearl. Those were the days, man.
Manaphy's egg was the first to have unique sprite art, and Manaphy is also unique in that it's the only legendary Pokemon that can breed, and when its egg hatches, you get a Fione, Manaphy's counterpart and child. You're like, how can this get any cuter? And then it gets just cuter. Amazing.
Right? And speaking of cute, Manaphy bears a striking resemblance to a teeny tiny sea creature called a sea angel. It's very small and cute, and it's a mollusk that's mostly transparent and can survive in pretty much all types of oceans, from polar regions under sea ice all the way down to tropical waters. At a foot tall, Manaphy's not quite as tiny, but he's also the second lightest water type, so go figure.
The name Manaphy seems to come from mana, a Polynesian word for the supernatural power of nature. Though most cultures just use the word synonymously with magic, in Hawaiian and Tahitian culture, mana is a spiritual energy and a healing power found in places, people, and objects. You're meant to gain and lose mana based on your actions, so people with high mana are very well respected. And looking at it from that angle, Manaphy's signature move, Heart Swap, becomes particularly interesting. In the game, it simply switches stat changes between yourself and your opponent. But with this power, it is also said that Manaphy can switch the perspectives of people and Pokemon in order to help them understand each other. So I guess that means Heart Swap is literally meant to be like a change of heart. That's super cute.
Right, but what if I told you it's this same mysterious power of togetherness that lies at the center of today's legendary-only segment?
I'd say it probably sounds like it's time for another edition of the Pokemon Creation Myth.
Pokemon Creation Myth. Etc. That's right.
Whatever. So, we know that Manaphy can form a bond with any Pokemon, and if you've ever watched or read or played anything Pokemon, you know that this bond between Pokemon and their trainers is so important to the series as a whole. And today, same as it was 20 years ago, the best part of Pokemon remains to be that these monsters feel like much more than pixels on a screen.
Yeah, man, it's always been a dream of the developers that you could bring your partners with you for life, from game to game, which is why they had to choose between more save files or the ability to give your friends names. They opted for the names. But what about in the game world itself? What can Manaphy's power tell us about the science behind this bond?
Well, let's look at the facts. Manaphy seems to have some sort of physical control over its relationship with other Pokemon, and somehow able to align its perspectives with others through some biologically innate ability. Manaphy certainly seems to be the patron saint of this ability, if you will, but there's tons of other Pokemon who can use moves like Charm and Baby Doll Eyes to great effect as well.
What we're saying is, what if this hints at a relationship between humans and Pokemon that works like mutualistic symbiosis? Mutualistic symbiosis is basically defined as members of two different species who are in a long-term living arrangement together that is beneficial to both. So what are we getting out of this from each other?
Well, I guess it's obvious that the Pokemon get the benefit of shelter and healthcare and regular meals, but what about us? Well, if you consider now that we know the bond between human and Pokemon is based on seeing things from a different perspective, what's to say that it's not the same affinity for perspective that's basically granted the humans of that world peace? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
Remember, folks, good relationships are based on shared experiences, from personal ones between friends to enormous ones between cultures. And while Manaphy might not be as on the nose as someone like N, we can kind of look at it as the first part of a story begun in Gen 4 about the history of the relationship between human and Pokemon and the secret origin of the creatures in the first place.
Yeah, and maybe that's why Manaphy was so hard to get in the first place, because it's more memorable that way, and because it gives you a great story and a seed to start a great relationship together. You and your special new Pokemon friend. Aw, that got just too real. I'm gonna like tear up.
Dang, dude, I bet everybody has great Pokemon stories.
Right? Actually, you know what?
What?
Let's give them a place to share. Leave your Pokemon stories in the comments below. It'll be great to share all these little cute friendship tales.
You're darn right it will, but don't do it just yet, because first, we gotta sneak a peek at some sick Gen 6 Manaphy battle strats. Ready, Kells?
Oh, you know it, man. Manaphy.
Oh, really? Manaphy is real cool, and though I've kind of been favoring VGC 2016 strats lately because it's so dang hype, its unique strategies really make it shine in OU best. Start with the timid one and super train it in special attack and speed.
The big deal with Manaphy comes from Tail Glow, a bug-type move that boosts its special attack 3 stages in 1 turn. Give it leftovers to make sure it can survive that 1 turn, and Manaphy becomes really scary, really fast.
Scald is the preferred stab water move because the burn chance can potentially cripple tons of slower threats right out the gate, but back it up with Ice Beam and Energy Ball for coverage.
Also, don't be afraid to change it up every once in a while and open with an attacking move before boosting. His base 100 maxed out special attack stack can be pretty buff on its own, and sometimes it's better to do something your opponent doesn't expect, even if there's a little risk involved.
And that's that. Of course, that's not the only way to train a Manaphy, so as always, here are a few random thoughts.
Ice Beam and Energy Ball are great coverage picks, but sometimes in OU, you're gonna find yourself needing to hard counter Psychic types, and when you do, Shadow Ball is there for you, man, so use that.
And don't forget about Manaphy's ability Hydration either. It prevents status effects in the rain, so run Rain Dance to ruin anyone who's planning on stalling you out. Hope they like double Tail Glows, because that's what they're getting.
Also, if you want to use Rain Dance even more defensively, swap out Tail Glow for that Calm Mind and toss Rest on the set. Hydration basically turns it into an instant heal with no penalty. It's positively beastly, my brothers.
And finally, it's worth mentioning that Manaphy has access to Dazzling Gleam. It doesn't have an obvious use per se, but it's a real good move, so at least keep it in mind when you're trying to take down that specific opponent.
And that's it, Manaphy! I can't wait to read all your wonderful Pokemon stories!
If you haven't had your fill of us yet and you want another full hour of fresh Dexy goodness, click here to check out this week's episode of the Dex Podcast.
Or if water types are more your thing, click here for a huge playlist of episodes all about the most numerous type in the game. I'm talking about water, by the way.
And dude, if you haven't yet, why not subscribe? I'm Twins Alex.
And I'm PokeKellz. Tune in next week for the Fione portion of this 2-part legendary special on
The Dex.